Hey, converted man here. All right, random hangout. Yeah, let's do it. Why not? Prove to me there's a God. You can talk to a skeptic live. Also, random mussing and Lobsterist hangout. So if anyone shows up, then I'll invite them in and see if they want to talk. And if not, whatever. And in the meantime, I'll just talk about whatever's in my mind, how to be a skeptic. Yeah, that came to mind. Or like how to know when somebody is lying to you. Because this one guy's been commenting about climate change. Like, I've got scientists. I know there's scientists on the side that thinks it's not real or some sort of hoax or the carbon dioxide isn't the cause or whatever. It's, and all these scientists and he offers like one scientist that actually would know the subject matter and the other scientist isn't really a scientist. I mean, not in the right field, and neither of them is really credible in what they say, and so it's like, yeah, the majority say that it is real. And then his thing was like, oh, they get grant money. Well, everybody gets grant money. So it's a conspiracy. And I said, like, why do you want to believe this? Like, you seem like you want to not believe it. Because the majority says it's true. Now, that doesn't make it true, granted. But there's some reason that you're not telling me that you don't believe this. What is that? And I suspect there's some, maybe it's something like, oh, well, God in the Bible says, the world will last until it comes again, or it could be, oh, well, I don't trust the scientists on this side because they get money from people. Like, oh, but the scientists on your side get money from people too. So they're making money from their books. They're making money from their. I mean, everybody's making money. So what do you? That's not it. So it's something else. I don't know what that is, but there's some reason. You know that reason. I don't know that reason. So, anyways, and it goes back to that other conversation I had about being willing to challenge your own beliefs. It's like that's really hard to do because you're used to your beliefs. Now, and again, it's very important to stress that you might not like your beliefs, but you're used to them, so that your brain is like, doesn't want to let it go. It's very used to it. Anxiety is a mother effing thing. And it's like, well, you confront it and then you just wear it out. And that's the answer. And I'm like, there's got to be a different answer, though, isn't it? Well, maybe not. I don't know. Seems like that's an answer, but is it the answer? Is it the best answer? I don't know. Anyways, that's psychology. This guy, I saw this video. I was going to cover it, but it was just so full of word salad. It sounded like the ontological argument being like, if you think about God, and God is a necessary thing, then God has to exist. I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. I mean, just think of stuff and then just say they're necessary and then they exist. I have a necessary $1 million in my account, in my bank. So therefore I do. No, that's not what I said. I'm like, anime waifus are necessary. And he's like, if you keep bugging me, I'm going to report you. I'm like, what the That's not how that works. I'm not bugging you. Whatever. I'm like, you just block me. Whatever, dude. So I was just like, forget it. Not going to deal with that guy. But yeah, I mean, weird ideas. People have all sorts of weird ideas about how reality works and how they want reality work and what they want to be true or false, or how to go about it the right way. I was listening to a podcast talking about the culture war, quote unquote culture war. That's just like, why do we name everything a war? There's a war on drugs. There's a war on poverty. There's a war. Like, dude, we're never gonna win those wars. Like, Are we really fighting a war? Like, is that the best way we know to conceptualize it? I don't know. Yeah, argument one says so in my book. Argument two, look at the trees. Yeah, exactly. That's always what it is for the God thing is. And what is God? And how does God work? You know, how do we know what God is? I asked somebody that, and they're like, well, it's defined in this way. I'm like, yeah, I know that, but how did you decide that that's what it was? And now I could be wrong. Let me know. Everything that I know about, we saw the thing and then we said, okay, we described the thing and that's what the thing is. So we named it first, okay, I picked up this little thing on the ground. I'm going to name it rock, and this is what it's like. And these are its properties. And that worked for a while until we found out there's more than one type of rock. And then, you get all these other names. But it works for a broad brush stroke of an idea of a thing that you find that's hard on the ground you can call a rock, but then what that is, and you can get into all that nonsense, but nonetheless you have the thing and then you describe it. But God is backwards. You describe the thing and you say that's what God is. St. Augustine's arguments kind of go, we call that thing God. It's like, no, you call that thing God. I don't call it God. You call that God. Don't say we. You call it God. And it's your version of your idea of what God is, and I don't know what God is or how God is or how that would work or what that would look like, and I'm not going to make any assumptions about it. And the only things I can say about it are not positive in a, they're not, they're negative. This is a what's the term now? The non-reciprocal relationship, parasocial. It's the ultimate in parasocial relationship. Now with YouTubers, big YouTubers, like you have a parasocial relationship. You comment and maybe they'll heart your comment, maybe they'll say something, but they're not, they don't know, they're not going to talk to you in email or whatever. Now I will, if you email me, I will interact with you. If you leave a message, I'll interact with you. Put a thing in chat, I'll interact live, if not in chat, whatever. So, but I'm not a big YouTuber. There's somebody that's famous. You have a kind of a parasocial relationship with that famous person. You like them. You enjoy their stuff. They don't know anything about you. I've met Weird Al a few times, because, I paid the extra to be able to get, that privilege to do so. And he said nice things to me every time. And that matters to me, but he doesn't know who the bleep I am. He's met too many people. He can't remember me. But at least I was able to talk to him, So depending on the fame of the person, you may or may not get the ability to do that, it depends on, if they even, give people access or not. But you hypothetically have the possibility that they will notice you and say something to you at some point. But God says nothing to anybody ever, except in the distant past or to the guy or gal who seems kind of crazy and probably is. And yeah, sure, God speaks to me. Yeah, really. What does God say? Oh, God says that I'm the chosen messenger. How convenient. Can God tell you anything that you wouldn't know? Well, no, that's not how God works. Of course not. The moment you put any testing on it, any controls on it, the illusion vanishes, because it's not real. It's not They're not really getting messages from God. They're just saying that, and people have done this. Joseph Smith did it, and this religion continues despite the obvious lies. The Mormon religion is very successful, and Jehovah's Witnesses and all these different religions are very successful, and cults, well, if they don't wind up in death, they either fizzle out or they become religion. And it's all started from one or more people saying that God said X, Y, and Z. And this is what God wants. And oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, sounds good. God will, help you in your life. Okay. But you can't tell too big of a lie. You have to be very vague about it. It has to be very hidden, has to be mysterious, because if you promise something and then that promise fails to deliver, that's it. That's the end of the scam. It works until it doesn't, like pyramid scheme. Like, oh yeah, you'll get really famous, you'll get really rich, as long as you can get people to come under you. Yeah, well, you might make some money, maybe, if you're constantly doing that, and as you go up the pyramid, maybe, but do you ever go up the pyramid? Yeah. No. You sell the book that says how to make $1 million for $99. If you sell enough of those, you'll become a millionaire. Well, yeah. Duh. But, you have to find the suckers. And there's a bazillion scam things running around still today. Calling, giving people fake viruses or real viruses, whatever. And I'm from Microsoft, I'm from Social Security, I'm from the government, I'm from whatever. And they throw this message out to a giant audience. They have their little script, they do their thing, and somebody believes it and gives them money. Enough so that they keep doing it. So if there was more skeptical people out there, if there was enough skeptical people out there, then they wouldn't exist. Scammers wouldn't exist. They would fail. They wouldn't be able to survive. So if you have a convincing enough story, you can convince people like your life's in danger. But a low cost of $5 can protect your life from what? Don't worry about that. It's just your life's in danger. And there's some things that feel like scams, like life insurance. Yeah, we'll pay money once you're dead. Well, how do I know that? Like, I'll be dead. How do I know you're gonna pay out all this money when I'm dead? What guarantee do I really have? None. Oh, well, we did it before. Did you though? Like, how do I verify that? Right? So it's a weird, wacky world, and being skeptical is very difficult because, well, what do you believe? You don't believe anything. Well, how do you function? So what do you do? What are you supposed to do with all that? I don't know. That's why I'm asking the question. What else? I guess I was, once again mussing about mortality. I didn't want to, but it came in my brain. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to not exist. I'm used to it. What is that like? Like, it's just like done, and then that's just it. You're not even. You don't even know that you're not, and it's like, well, that's like, why? Why would that be the thing? That's weird. And why? And it's like, well, you didn't know what it was like before you existed. I'm like, yeah, well, but I don't know. That feels different. Like, it's behind me, not ahead of me, And so it's just, will be scary. Like, what will be your final thought? And I'm like, well, does the final thought even matter? Because after that, you won't. But it mattered to you when it did matter in that moment, and then that's that. It's it's just. So I'm like, I don't know what happens. That's how I cope with it. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what happens. Infinite time, who knows? They'll put me, my molecules will come back together again. Sure, why not? That's not gonna, come on, But why would this be the first time through the loop? Like, if we keep being reborn in a future date, why wouldn't I be on the 5th incarnation of me rather than the first? Well, because you have to live through each incarnation. So you have to go through the first one to get to the second. You don't just jump to the 5th. And it's like, well, yeah, but why would this be the first? Like, because there had to be a first. Oh, okay. This unsatisfactory answer to the made up idea of some sort of way to not to keep existing. But like, then you go, well, how long would I want to exist? And you're like, I don't know, 1,112 years. I don't know. Sounds like a good number. But it's like, eventually, yeah, you get bored, you'd run out of stuff to do. You'd be like, okay, I'm done now. And as long as you can stop, then fine. But you'd still be left with like, well, I don't know what it's like to not be, but I guess, well, you can't find out because there is no there. The closest, I guess, is being put under for surgery or whatever, And I've had that. I've done that, and it's like there wasn't me there. It was just I just was there one moment, and then the next, and then there was another moment, but there was no in between. And I didn't miss that. I didn't feel like. Well, I didn't feel at all. It's a non-thing. Why is it so scary though? I don't know. Some people are like, I'm fine with it. I'm like, I'm still not okay with it. But I have to be skeptical of it, and I have to be skeptical of my own ideas because my desire is, to exist for a while, and at any rate, I don't know how long, The quality of life is also important. And there's times where it's just, this sucks, But it's like, well, what makes it suck is like your brain just says it sucks, right? So you could just take drugs and then it doesn't, but then that leads to bad stuff, right? So it's like there's no cheat mode. But if there was a cheat mode, would anything matter then? Like, you could have just anything you wanted all the time. It'd get boring real fast. Like, you're like, what's the point? Like, okay, I won. I got everything I want. Now what? That would get boring. So no wonder God, screws with us, because it's just bored as hell. It's an amoral well, I don't even say amoral monster. It's a monster. It's an evil monster that's just bored out of its mind because it can do anything, and it's just playing with us for its amusement, which is the Greek and Roman god. Well, Greek first because they came first, but that's their idea. It's like the gods are just playing with us, or just little toys. It's like, oh, isn't that funny? They're killing each other again. Yeah. And look at that one over there. It's doing that thing. That's funny. Yeah. They made us, it made us have to poop. I'm sure that's hilarious. Oh, it's gonna go again. Yeah. How much time do you waste doing that? My goodness. Which kind of just, to me, the next time I see the look at the trees thing, I'm like, look at the poop. Like, really, like, does, look at the poo then. Doesn't poo disprove God? Like, why would God make us have to poo? Well, the better explanation argument. God's a better explanation than the natural. No, God's not even an explanation, because You can just say anything and say, well, that explains it. No, you need to demonstrate that that is a thing before it's an explanation. So, you know. But God has failed to prove itself to all the skeptics and atheists I know over and over again. And God's henchmen who deliver God's message suck. They just suck at it. They're really bad at it. Their books are unconvincing. Their arguments suck. You know, their morals are questionable. They act like jerks sometimes. Not to say that anyone, everyone can do that, but what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I don't know. So what else? Random mussing. The argument from feces doesn't work either. Yeah, well, look at the poo. Well, that disproves God, right? I mean, if trees prove God, then poo disproves God, right? Because what intelligent creator would make it look like would make it that way? Like, no one would. If you have the ability to to make anything to be however you want, okay, why make it that things need energy? Like energy, does energy even have to be a thing? No, it's just everything's alive and just is. You know, so with energy you have problems of where you get the energy from and how you convert the energy into useful function and all this. And well, if you're making all the physics, you just make it so the creature doesn't have to eat. Or if it does have to eat, which is kind of weird, you make it that they process everything 100%, so there's no waste. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Simon. Oh, here we go with the Christian love. Why is it so hard for you dumb atheists to get it? Well, because I'm just so dumb, Simon. I'm just so dumb. That's why it's hard for me to get it. I'm just really dumb. You answered your own question. God is love. And just look at the bloody trees, dummies. Yeah, exactly. All right. Yeah. So I don't know if that's a troll or not. Seems to be trolling to me. Because come on, Simon. Do you actually think that that's a good argument, or is he just parroting theists? It's hard to say. It's a Poe factor, right? Eat me, God. Yeah, come on, bring it on. Yeah. Hey, there's Blaster Master. Hey, Blaster Master.
Hey,
Blaster, the Blaster. Hello.
how's it going?
What's up? Oh,
I
yeah.
just take.
And I hadn't watched it yet.
I'm just taking a break from mowing the lawn.
Wow. Why? Yeah. Why did God make lawns?
I don't know.
No, we decided on the lawn.
Yeah.
Like,
honestly,
we could just
I
have
wish
rocks. Just put rocks
Yeah.
up there. Fuck it. Yeah.
my lawn isn't much of a lawn.
You could put in that fake grass. Nobody knows.
I'd like to put in like I don't know. There's got to be like I don't know. I've seen people do like clovers and stuff like that.
How
That's
about
kind of
like
cool.
fiber optic cables that glow different colors?
I was thinking earlier. I had like my old place that I lived at here. Whenever it like had monsoon season around here, there would be like this. I don't know. It was like had to be like a succulent or something would take over the yard, the lawn.
uh,
And that was kind of
mm.
cool. I'm like, all right, I'd be down if my whole yard, if my whole lawn was just like a big succulent. I'm okay with
Where do
that.
you think the word lawn came from?
It's probably Scottish, probably or something, huh?
It's a weird word, lawn, like lawn. I don't know. If you say anything long enough, or I was hearing this thing, the deja vu, and they were calling it. I forget what they called it. Not some other opposite word they came up with. That if you say if you repeat something long enough that it becomes too familiar and it loses all its meaning. And they labeled it as whatever the bleep opposite of deja vu was, non-vu or something. And it was like your brain like goes, wait a minute, and it like resets. Like, are you sure? Like, you want to keep doing this? Like, are you functioning okay? So it's just like, oh, okay. It's your brain's like just making sure, So it makes this weird feeling, and it's like, oh, that's weird. Oh man. Oh no, that's fine. I can do this. So I was like, orange, 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 orange. Oh. I'm like, is that what if you look at the mirror too long, it starts to like look weird. Like you start to go, oh my god, who is this person? What the hell? You start freaking out.
Yeah.
Germata proves God. What the hell is that
Gematria?
word? Gematria.
Hey Simon, why don't you come in here and explain what you're talking about to us?
Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. Germatia. Should I look that up?
You mean he's too afraid to come in?
Probably.
Or you won't let him in?
No, I'll let him in. GRIA. What is that? Germatia calculator. What is this? The English Germatia calculator is an online calculator for finding the value of a word or phrase in Germatia. What the fuck is that? Oh, Germatia. Numerology. Oh, it's that bullshit. Germatia is the practice of assigning a numerical value to a name. All right, sure, let's do it. Okay, so deconverted man. So that's 4. Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, let's just play with this for a moment. So we change all our letters to numbers. Okay, cool, fine. Then what do you do with the numbers? Well, there's a lot you can do. You could multiply them, you could add them, you could subtract them, you could divide them. Now, how do you decide which of those to do with the numbers? See, there's the rub. They just do stuff with it, and they never explain how they decided what to do with the number. And usually they're trying to get to a certain number. They're trying to get to something that means something to them.
You got to get to 7.
Yeah, you got to get to 7, or you got to get, And numbers have weird patterns. There's fun patterns in math, but it's just, it's just patterns. It's just, this sequences repeat and whatever. It doesn't mean anything unless you want it to mean something. You're like, oh,
it doesn't equate to a god, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this means something. If you add all the letters together, you get this number. Okay,
and you squint at it from
and then
half
you
a mile
multiply
away.
You multiply that number by 7, and then you divide it by 2, and you add 1, and it's like, yeah, that's nice. The Mandela effect. Oh God, yeah, sure. The Mandela effect. Yeah, that's another one.
It's CERN. CERN is changing the world.
Yeah. The HARP is the other one.
Oh yeah, HARP. Yeah.
Yeah, HARP changes the weather.
Yeah.
So I was talking to this guy. He was saying he's got two whole scientists that disagree with global warming being real or whatever.
Two whole scientists.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I was like, that's amazing. It was a climatologist and geography, as I say it. Geography. My brain did not want to say that.
Geologist?
Oops. All right, here we go. Let me see if I can find this here. Yeah, there we go. Let's see. Present, change screen, zoom in. Whoopsie. Okay, let's go down. Let's go down. All right, Simon. If you keep going, you're gonna wind up banned. Zay. Are you guys agnostic? Well, that's a label that could apply to me, I'm sure. I prefer skeptic just because it covers more things. but I guess agnostic can apply to some degree. Depends on the version of agnostic you use. But skeptic is my chosen label, I suppose. But what I mean by skeptic might not be what the dictionary says skeptic is. So I hope that answers the question, Zay. I got a lot of interesting people in chat just by naming this "Prove God to Me." You're just having fun with. Okay, Simon, you gotta like put like a little smiley face or something to let me know you're joking around. Otherwise, I'm gonna take you seriously. All right. Anyways, so there's like, I'll ask this here. Do you think there's a man-made climate problem? Yeah, obviously. We change the environment to suit our needs. So yes, we are affecting the climate. That is like obvious. Like, yeah, we're producing stuff that wouldn't be produced by nature, like on its own, in the quantities that we produce it in. And, Earth is somewhat of a closed system. So adding more stuff to it in the quantities that we do is going to affect stuff. It's like really easy to say yes to that. And so it's just, it doesn't matter what I think. It just says what the evidence is. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter what I think. And the Industrial Revolution, we've been producing chemicals, ozone depleting substances. And then when we changed that, the ozone, there's still an ozone hole. I didn't know that. I thought it went away, but it's healing. But at any rate, the forests.
It's healed, yeah. It's not as bad as it used to be, right?
Yeah, it's not as bad as it used to be, but it's still there. It's still over the Arctic, one of the poles. I don't know which one off the top of my head. So we produce more than the planet can nom up. And he was like, well, the oceans absorb some. I'm like, yeah, well, if I add in the oceans,
that's not a good thing.
That's one, it's not a good thing. Yeah, I'm sure the ocean absorbs something, but what's it doing with that, first of all? Secondly,
killing everything?
Yeah, like it's killing things in the ocean. And then secondly, I don't know what that number is. I'd have to like poke ChatGPT or whatever to get that. And it's still not gonna negate the metric tons that we produce. And he's like, he said oceans absorb more than forests. Okay, like, how much does the ocean absorb? Ocean absorbs how much?
A lot.
CO2.
It absorbs a lot. That's why we need to like
30%.
We need like scrubbers in the ocean, like ASAP.
Yeah, plus all the plastics.
That's a whole another world of problems right there. I mean, just getting the temperature down would be, or getting, cleaning some of the water would be a start.
Yeah, so that's about 30%. Eats about 30%, and we still have too much CO2. So yeah, I mean 30%. That's still, you're left with a lot. So that doesn't fix it. So why is he asking me these problems as if I know the answers to these questions? I don't know the answer to these questions.
Why doesn't he ask a climate scientist?
Because he doesn't believe in it. That's why. He's like, watch this video by Tom Heller. So I'm like, I don't know who the hell that is. So now I got to look up Tom Heller. All right. Now, come on, Blaster. Whoopsie, wrong button. Where are you? There we go. Sorry.
I'm here.
I didn't mean to do that to you. Who's Tony Heller? Come on, take a guess. Come on.
Tony Heller.
Just wild guess.
I'm gonna guess he's a creationist.
Nah. Well, I mean, maybe. Okay, so his name is Tony Heller, and
he's certainly not a scientist. I'll put money on that.
He is a weather historian. Yay! Okay. And does he have any scientific papers?
No.
Uh, he has a BS in geology and masters in electrical engineering. Or it could be the actor from Quantum Leap. Or this is the problem. I don't know who the hell he's talking about, right? Who are you talking about? So he's a weatherman, I guess. And I'm like, can you do better than that? No,
Like
that
a
could,
modern scientific paper.
I said he doesn't appear to be anything other than a retired weatherman, which is way too much time. 0 scientific papers. It's a fallacy to look at the person. No, it's not. In this case, no. I negate him because he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm done.
Well, I mean, I don't base my
but
I accept climate change off of one person's opinion. It's like a consensus among scientists.
Yeah, exactly. It's just one guy that is in the wrong field, has no scientific papers to his name. Why am I going to believe what this guy says? I'm not going to listen to a video. I'm not going to, he's got a video. Oh, wow, a video. Oh, man, I made a video. Oh, man. And so Naya 61A points out the correct thing is that this is a complex idea, and we got to go with the peer-reviewed experts. Now, here's his comeback. This tells us something about him. Doesn't tell us everything. There are scientists in the field who say there's no man-made climate emergency. What scientists? Then he mentions these two names. We'll get into that in a moment. When it's an expert versus expert, it's easier for lay people to see what might be contradictions. No, actually, it's not easier. It's harder. You seem to have a close religious belief that the majority of grant-funded scientists, because you can't trust those grant-funded scientists, don't you know? They're funded by grants.
That just shows he doesn't know how science works.
Yeah, like every scientist is funded by grants. That's everyone. That's all of the things. And it's not just grants; it's also donations and all sorts of things. And many times, it's what inventions they produce. They can sell that. They can.
Hold on, tea kettle's ready.
But yeah, it's a conspiracy nut. Okay, so that's it. I have. Oh, those other people, they're not critical. Well, only one is a climate weatherologist. The other one had no relevant degree. So CO2 is very low. No. Gnosticism, agnosticism. Like I said, depending on how you term that word, it fits. I guess it's kind of weird because the word has several versions of it that it gets into natural language.
I mean, I just say, look, I don't believe in a god or anything.
Yeah.
There you go.
Let's see. Agnostic, just from Oxford, is defined as a person that believes nothing is known or can be known of the existence or nature of God. Now, for me, I'm like, if that's what it is, no. That doesn't fit me because I don't know that nothing can be known or that nothing could be known. So I wouldn't say I couldn't make the declaration that you can't know this and you can never know this because
if a god interacts with reality, then we should be able to measure it.
Yeah. So by the definition, as I understand the definition that I'm reading here, I don't know if that's big enough. That if you're saying nothing can be known about this, nothing can ever be known about this, I wouldn't say that about anything. How the hell would I know that nothing can be known? That's the statement too far. But that's the way that I'm reading it, and that might not be the way that an agnostic would frame it, depending on the person. But then there's a second definition, a person who claims neither faith nor disbelief in God. that's more flexible, and that one seems to kind of fit me to some degree because like I don't I don't I do not believe in God, but I don't believe in God, but I don't in terms of even what God is.
Yeah, it
There's
depends on how you define the God, right?
So then I have to say, well, now I'm saying I can't not have faith or belief in something where I don't even know what it is. So the term agnostic sort of fits depending on, you know,
the God.
how we look at that word.
And it depends on the God you're defining, I think. Too.
Yeah. So so there's also Gnostic, you know, and all that. And so it's kind of one of those like it kind of fits me, but not really. But you know, there's limits of the labels that we have, and you know, like I said, with skeptic, that's my chosen label because my brother he's like, oh, you're a skeptic now, and I was like, oh,
I'm fine with that.
Yes, okay, that like when he met me again because we been apart a while, but we reunited and stuff and lived together for a while and whatever, and I was being very obviously jaded about things. He's like, oh, you're a skeptic, and that just was like, yes I am, that works, I like that. So and then what it meant to me as I developed my understandings of the world and how I view things doesn't necessarily align with how the definition of skeptic is, like if you look it up. I mean, but
if it's like a believer asking me, I just tell them I'm a non-believer because I don't like to get into the terms because the labels have so many like negative content, negative,
yeah, like, I'm not really worried about that. I mean, there's an argument to be made about like the promotion of and the fight for keeping or not keeping label. Why can I not?
Well, I mean, I'll use the label like publicly, but like on an individual like conversation, if I'm talking to someone as an individual, I don't like to use it. Like if it's someone I don't know, you know what I mean? Like if it's like some religious person that it's like they don't understand what an atheist is or how I would even define that. Yeah. So if I tell them I'm an atheist, they're going to be like, "Oh, so you worship Satan?" You know? It's like,
no, that doesn't. So yeah, see now the second one, the philosophy, ancient or modern philosopher denies the possibility of knowledge or even rational belief in some sphere. That's not skeptic to me. That's like I don't know what that is. That's nonsense. A person inclined to question or doubt accepted opinions. That's closer. Yes, that's what that means to me. So again, it's a label. Whatever. Let's see.
I don't think it matters. Like the label doesn't matter so much as long as you understand what the person means by the label. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think that's what really matters.
That sounds about right. Y2 brags that Tony Hiller's a typical person we would think that was against climate change.
Of course he has.
And I'm sure that he's written books and done lectures and gotten a lot of money from doing that. And what's weird about the conspiracy type, because conspiracy theory, there are some real things that are actual conspiracies, and then there's the tinfoil hat type, So we need a different word maybe for conspiracy theorists, because sometimes there are legit conspiracy theories. Epstein didn't kill himself. Yeah, I'm not saying that he did or didn't. I'm just saying like that would be an example of something that totally didn't happen or did happen, or depending on.
What's up, math pig?
Anyways, so yeah, you have to. Yeah, so he changed his name. That's great. That's honesty there. Agnostic. I love things. Yeah, okay. Can I Christianity? Yes. I have a video of that somewhere. But instead of the video, what am I gonna do now, Blaster Master? Come on.
Talk about how you deconverted?
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, instead of promoting my video, I'm going to promote my book. Oh, my God. You can read my book. Ah, yes. Read my book. Come on, I want money. Read my book. He said, here it is. Read the book. This talks all about my deconversion. What a nicely short name that has. I've gotten better with my name. As I go on, my names do get shorter, though. See, I started with this book.
There's probably just a word for that concept of the book right there.
Deconverting, you mean? Yeah. I wrote that book's name before I came up with Deconverted Man. But then I said the Lightbringer, that was the next one, and then Logic and Morals. So it is getting, the naming schemes are getting smaller as time goes on. So yeah, I don't know if anyone bought the Logic and Morals yet. I need to figure
The
out
new
how
one.
to. Yeah, I mean, it's fairly new. I mean, I don't know. I have held the Bible of Lobster in my hand. Yes, that's another one. The Lobsterist, of course, which I should publish as a book.
You probably should, yeah.
I probably
That's probably
should.
going to be the one that gets more reads than anything.
I doubt it.
You might be surprised.
Yeah, you never know, I guess. But on my about screen, whatever they're calling this thing now, I guess description, because you just you go to the main thing, right? And you go 5 more links. It used to be called about, but now it's now it has no name. So, anyways, you click that, right? And then it tells you, and so here's the Lobsterist audio version, and then the Lobsterist that you can read. So, there's
They're
no
up there for free.
excuse. There's no excuse not to become a Lobsterist. And then, of course, Captive Desk read the entire thing for April Fool's Day. I don't know how many I just love that. I was like, I don't care if anyone else likes this or not. This is my gift. Thank you,
How
Captive
did the
Desk.
world begin?
I love it. The Lobster clawed the universe.
Chat.
It's in the Lobsterist. Read them. It says how to do it.
I don't pretend to know how the world. I mean, gravity. Are you talking about Earth? Gravity.
Red did actually buy one of your books. Never read it. At least you got the money. Okay, well, I'm glad you bought it. I mean, I don't get that much from it, but
couple bucks.
Yeah, because it's self-published, or it's print on demand. So the thing that does that eats most of it. So
right. They take 70%.
They take a lot. They take a whole lot, way more than they should. But my brother went to the trouble of buying a publishing of a book. You can do this, and it's one of the ways to become a actual published person, because in order to publish a book, you have to have a published book. Well, how do you do that? Well, you got to be published. But how do you do that? Well, it's just, so there. One way is to pay for it. Another is to get stuff in the newspaper or whatever. So the route of,
or have a publisher pick it up.
Yeah, well, but the only way a publisher will generally pick it up is if you have already been published. So
yeah, that probably
it's a catch-22. So one way is there's a company or two out there that will publish your book if you pay them, and the amount is $1,000 plus, depending. So then my brother's like, "Fine, I'll just do that." I'm like, "Okay, cool, and then you can publish. Maybe get published for other stuff." I'm not going to do that with my stuff. I'm just like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. Maybe I'll do that with the comic that I've got a person working on, a comic that is looking really beautiful, and I really would like to get that out there in the world. So maybe I'll do it with that one. I don't know. Now I want her money back. Sorry, you'll have to ask. But I'm very glad that they bought it, and I got some of that money. But more than that, I want people to read it or share it with somebody that will read it or whatever. Because the ideas are, all our ideas are important.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Oh, how did the world begin? Yeah, gravity, basically. I mean,
Have you ever heard of it? Gravity.
Yeah, I gotta find that clip. I haven't found that
Desert
clip.
File.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I think he's not too far from me. He's got to be an hour or two from me.
Well, the history of the world, I guess, by Bill Wirtz covers everything, so you could just watch that video. You know, that's pretty comprehensive. You know, and it's like, that explains it all. It really does. It explains it.
Like, I think what they're really asking is where did everything come from? I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't think
everything's
that
always been.
Yeah, I don't think that there was a starting point.
If the singularity hypothesis is correct, and maybe it's not, but if it is, then everything was always. There's always been an everything. It was just in a really small spot, and that small spot was no time, and there was hardly any space because it was so bleeping small.
Or it's just like a pattern of like the big crunch theory. Have you heard of that?
Yeah. It's just a bunch of possible energy floating around. It
expands and then it goes down to a single point, and then it expands and it just repeats like that over and over again forever.
But it's as far as the Earth itself came from the dust of the sun exploding initially, which came from other suns that exploded and made dust, and the dust gets together because of gravity, and there you go. And it's like it's all due to gravity at the core. So gravity is God. Gravity is basically the God. And it's funny because mentioning gravity, because gravity actually negated St. Thomas Aquinas's first argument for motion. I was like, he didn't think about gravity. Everything's always in motion. There isn't ever a non-motion something. Like it seems like it. Like you go, okay, well, this little thing on my desk isn't moving. Well, but technically everything's always moving. Because we're in orbit. So, and even not that, but even if you put it in space, the things inside of it are moving because molecules move all the time. So there is no stationary. Everything is always moving.
Chris, I really don't care about your personal incredulity towards the matter either.
Yeah.
It doesn't really change anything.
It's retarded. Okay, well, whatever. I mean, it might be. It could be retarded and still be true. That's the weird thing about reality. It doesn't care what we think about it.
That sounds stupid. Well, okay.
Yeah, sure, and it's still true. Like, what are atoms made out of? Subatomic particles. Well, what are they made out of? Little things we don't even know what the hell they're called anymore. We just ran out of
weird.
Names.
That can't be true.
Subatomic particles. We stopped naming them. We gave up. We're calling it the Planck length. What's that? It's really small. But what is it? We don't know. It's just really small. It's the smallest thing ever.
We can't see it yet.
We can't see it. How do you know it's there? We don't know it's there. We're pretending that it's there because we gave up, okay? We can't see any smaller. But I want to know what's smaller than that. I don't know. Ant-Man. How does Ant-Man work? It does. It's a movie. It's magic. Oh, okay. How come he can take his helmet off? Like, wouldn't that kill him? Yes, it would. He would be dead. But he does that because we got to see his face because they paid for his face. So, Ant-Man would not work.
The universe came into being from gravity.
Yeah. Quantum fluctuations and stuff.
Yeah.
That's, and it's like, well, that's not satisfying. Because let's say that was the ultimate answer, that there wasn't, I'm sure there's some formula like, 17.A divided by pi. And that was the answer. And you'd be like, well, that's not satisfactory. I don't like that answer. I want, is that it? And you'd be like, yeah, that's it. And be like, well, but I mean, I could still pretend that something, I could say, hey, look, time travelers came back in time to try to figure out what started the universe. And that's what started the universe, is them coming back to that moment. They, they didn't realize it, but they basically start the universe by their time travel.
Damn, you are your own grandfather?
You are the grandfather of everything. But you kill yourself by doing that, which you didn't get to know, because as soon as you appear there, you start the universe, and the cajillion degrees kills you. In fact, it doesn't just kill you. This is the great thing about Planck temperature, which is the highest temperature. I love that Planck length is the smallest thing.
At least it'd be over quick, right?
Yeah. It's so fast. It's insane. Because it was like, okay, Planck temperature is like 10 to the some stupid big giant number, right? So atoms and molecules can't exist at that temperature. So it's not that you burn. You aren't anymore. There is no any of you. There's no anything at all. You stop being. All your atoms and molecules can't exist, and that's it. You don't have time to even know that you're toast. You're just so dead. There's no even you. You're vaporized. There's just nothing. I'm like, dude, you're super mega dead. Your molecules are dead. There is no more dead to be. Your molecules have been rendered asunder by the heat. That is pretty dead. Being for, I mean, I don't know. I could be fluctuating energy. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't really claim to.
I don't know. But I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's just kind of weird, you know. That might be the answer. And if we're not satisfied with the answer, it's very pleasing sometimes to add in a story to that answer. And the problem with, broadly speaking, one problem with God as being a quote unquote answer is there's more questions. There's still questions. Like, how does God work? You know, where did God come from? What's God made out of? What does it look like? Where does it get its power from? Or its abilities? How does it think? Where does its energy come from? How long has it been? Why is it there? How, so you could keep asking questions and not getting any, you could make up more answers, but the honest answer is, in regards to God, is all the ideas about God are listed in some holy book or made up by somebody, well, that wrote a holy book, but they're all made up ideas that we came up with, like an answer. It's like, this sounds good. It's like God just has infinite power. Why? Well, it just does. But how does that work? Doesn't matter. It just does. Well, couldn't we just, like Carl Sagan said,
what, has gravity stopped making planets? I don't think it has. There's plenty of planets forming out there.
Yeah, there's planets forming all the time.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. There's suns forming all the time as well. Stars are constantly being born, you know.
Dude, if you don't know this stuff, like, go learn some cosmology. There's plenty of channels out there on YouTube that talk about cosmology.
Ask ChatGPT if nothing else. Here, let's do it right now. Let's see. Okay, well, I got to make sure that nothing bad is on.
I mean, one of my go watch Event Horizon. That's a great cosmology channel.
All right, here we go. Yeah, I was just making sure that nobody could see any horrible things that I did with ChatGPT lately. Where did gravity stop making planets? See, it's a loaded question. No, gravity has not stopped making planets. At the rate which new planets has likely slowed down compared to the early universe. Here's why. Gravity still works the same way. It continues to pull together gas and stuff. Planet formation happens in planetary disks around new stars. Early universe had more raw material, gas/dust for star and planet formation. But most of that material is used up or locked in stars, black holes, or planets. But still new stars form, and with them new planets can and do form. So gravity hasn't stopped making planets. There's just less material around now, making it a rarer event. Hey, isn't that question a loaded question anyway? Yes, it's a loaded question, depending on context. So there you go.
Nitty.
LGBT. Is there a chat LGBT that is more inclusive?
That's funny.
There's an official tool by that name. Yes.
Again, Chris has credulity about it. I don't care, like, whether you're willing to accept this stuff or not. It's like you can deny reality all you want.
Over the top as possible. Honey, buckle up and brace for the fabulous, because from this moment on, you are not just steady, you're steady down the runway of 6-inch long stilettos, draped in sequin-drenched science, and serving celestial level queer realness, okay? Gravity didn't stop making planets. She just took like a breather to reapply her cosmic contour. She's still snatching gas clouds and turning them into tight little planetoid orbits like intergalactic diva she is. Like, oh my god. If the universe was a drag show, Gravity would be like headliner and every single night, pulling look and matter with irresistible force. Newton, icon, Einstein, legendary. But Gravity, mother. You ready for a glam astrophysics, queer history deep dives, or some spicy philosophical tea with a rainbow twist? Girlfriend. There you go. Are you happy now?
That was a little over the top, but damn.
More. He loves it. There was more. Do your own research. Okay, yeah. How do you do your own research? Now, that's a good question. How do you do research? What does it mean to do your own research? What does that look like? Well, I'll tell you. I've got a whole bunch of links to logic research here. I've got let's see. I've got reference seek. Okay. I've got, let's see. Forget what this one does. Oh, this one searches libraries near you. I've got, this is a search for academic papers website. It's almost like I know how to research stuff, but
Google Scholar.
Google Scholar, yeah, sure, but these are more, streamlined search engines. I've got right. A lot of them. Also, and then I also randomly have the Open Worm project bookmarked in my logic research just because it's cool.
I mean, there's plenty of like lectures that are even up online from universities about this sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And then there's science.gov. Oh, almost clicked away. Science.gov. There's a lot of a lot of stuff you can check out, but doing quote unquote doing your own research. The thing is, like, to some degree, it sounds nice, but you have to know and understand what you're reading. So that's a whole nother level, because I've read some scientific papers and they're hard to understand. They're not easy to understand.
Someone's begging the question there in chat.
What is this?
Snippets.
I missed it. Would you agree that something created the universe? That is a loaded question, because it assumes that something created the universe. So I can't agree to the loaded question. So I do not agree with the question. I will rephrase the question to say, do I think something created the universe? And my answer is, I do not know if something did or did not create the universe. Secondly, you said, because the universe can't have created itself. Well, how do you know that?
Yeah, that's you can't doesn't follow, actually.
You just say something that doesn't make it so. So now I think that this is maybe a natural language problem, because when we think of objects, we don't think of them creating themselves per se. We humans, broadly speaking, are the result of an egg and sperm coming together. And before they came together, at least one person had to come. Boom, boom. Okay. It's like the rooster. What came first, the chicken or the egg? The rooster came first. No. Okay, enough of that. But yeah, that. So did the human create itself? Well, the humans created the other human, but the human, did it create itself? And once the sperm and egg are together, what's going on there? The cells are replicating. So is that the human creating itself? In a way, it is. It's a process biological
Natural
process. The
A
natural
natural
process.
one.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Doesn't
nothing
involve a
magical.
god.
Well, I mean, maybe it does and we can't see it, but regardless of what, regardless, what we know for sure is these cells are replicating at extraordinarily fast rate. Well, what's causing that? The cells are. So is the human creating itself? In a way, it is creating itself. And also in a way, it isn't. So it's both.
It's gone.
But that's a very weird way to, but that's what it is. So if the universe, which is, all the stuff that we know about, maybe it sort of created itself and sort of didn't, or maybe it did. Who knows? I don't know. Why should I know the answer to that question? Why should anybody know? And then the deeper question might not be about that, which is an interesting question, but how do we decide what the answer to any question is? What methodology do we apply to get to the answer of a given question? And the methodology we use can't just be, well, that doesn't make sense to me, or I don't like the answer. The methodology has to be one that can get to the truth of the matter, get to the answer. And so our method to determine what is true must be one that is proven to work in the past. The methodology of science, for example, or informal logic, which is useful to some degree, but can only get us so far. Search websites. Yeah. That's a bad way to do your own research. So you have to. I did a long talk on this a while back of being willing to question your own ideas and beliefs, and I was probably repetitive in that stream, but I was really trying to hammer home that idea because it's very hard to do. It's hard to question your ideas because you're used to your ideas, and that's true for me as well. I mean, I'm used to my ideas. It's weird. I hear people of faith, that believe in God or whatever it is, and they said like sometimes I struggle with my faith, and I'm like, it's funny because I don't struggle with my skepticism. I don't worry that I might be wrong about anything.
Yeah, I have no skin in the game.
It's like, oh, there's a God? Cool. That's neat. That'd be really cool. But I was saying earlier when I started this whole thing, I was saying that God would be the ultimate in parasocial relationship. Now, Blaster, you know the term parasocial. You're a smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
But not everybody does. So, I was like, well, just in case, I don't want people to look up parasocial if they don't want to. And goodness knows if you search without safe search on what you would get. So a parasocial relationship is one where you have affection or care about the person, but they don't even necessarily know you exist. So one example would be like a big YouTuber will not interact. They won't notice you because they have too many followers, a celebrity, stuff like this. But God is the ultimate in parasocial because I'm saying God out loud right now, like, hey God, how's it going? Hello. And I'm getting no response back. So that is a one way thing. I'm saying, hey God, pay attention to me, and I'm not receiving any response like a human would. If a human was here in the room with me and I was like, hey Bob, and they said nothing to me and they were just ignoring me, like, hey Bob, at some point they're gonna maybe pay attention to me. And if not, well then they're a jerk, and who wants anything to do with them then, and I'll be like, screw you, Bob. You can't be here. Toss him out of my house. He's ignoring me. Why do I want to be around Bob? He's not talking to me. He's not interacting with me. He's not treating me like a human. And at some point, I'm going to have to give up on Bob because he's non-responsive. So Math Pig and I at one point didn't know each other. And then one of us encountered the other. I don't know which way was first or at this point. It's been too long. And we interacted, and sometimes I'll talk to him on his stream, sometimes I'll talk on mine, whatever. And we can actually talk to each other, and we have, therefore, a relationship of some sort. And what the label is, who knows, but whatever. And we care about each other, at least to some degree, as humans. We treat each other civilly, at least. We're not enemies, we're not rivals. We're cool with each other. We're friendly towards each other. I don't know. Again, the label's not important as far as friend or whatever. All that stuff. I guess you can. Secretly, I have a romance about him in my head, but it doesn't matter what fanfic I may or may not have written about Math Pig having sex with me. What matters is, my point is, at least he'll talk to me. He'll chat with me in text or in speech. But God doesn't. Why? And the answer to that depends on what religion you ask. Every religion will give you a reason why God doesn't talk to you out loud, or talk to anybody out loud for that matter. Every religion will give you a different answer. But what's funny is, God doesn't say anything. God is completely silent. So that's kind of odd, especially if you're told that God cares about you. Well, sure doesn't seem like God cares about me. God's not saying anything to me or you guys. Right now, God could hop in to the StreamYard. It's God. It could say hi, right? Or maybe God doesn't have the power, ability to talk out loud at all, which then means that any religion that claims God talked out loud is lying to us, and we shouldn't believe them. God's utter silence is deafening. Its non-responsiveness to us is proof that it doesn't have the ability, or it doesn't care enough to tell us anything about it.
Willing or unable.
Yeah, or both. Yeah, by the way, nobody really thinks the universe came out of nowhere. That's a non-position that nobody has. We don't know where / how universe began, started, was. The singularity is the most talked about theory. And in that one, everything always was. And there was not ever not a universe. There was always a universe. So, and that, let's see. Let me pull up MS Paint. MS Paint. Okay, so here's the problem with that. Jesus was a human who claimed to be God. And so, as far as I can tell, Jesus is another person saying that they're God, or the only way to God. And that's a story that people believed. So that doesn't prove that God is anything more than a mere mortal. So again, God is back to being completely silent. I can claim to be God too. Hey, I'm God. You believe me? Why not? Sure, I'm God. So how do you prove I'm God? Or how do I prove I'm God to you? What do you want me to do to prove I'm God, right? Or if I say, oh, look, you can't test me because you're not allowed to test God. Very convenient. The sinful
That would take your free will and faith away.
Yeah, exactly. The sinful generation will ask for a sign. So are you a sinful generation? Well, then you're asking, oh, man, you're not allowed to do that. Hopefully you're pulling up the pre-trash version of MS Paint. How did you know that I was doing MS Paint? You must be a regular around here. No, it's sadly it's the new version. I hate this version of MS Paint. I like the original version, but whatever. Yeah, so I was going to draw the singularity because we're talking about, or well, it's been mentioned among other things that's been mentioned in chat. So, we'll just, we'll have it be this for now. Obviously, that's kind of just conceptual. Universe. Help. Wow. Can't spell today at all, right? But that's everything. That is the universe. But actually, it's like, it's that small. It's smaller than that. And then boom, right? Now we don't know. We scientists don't know why that happened / how it went from small to big, but it did for whatever reason. I don't know. There's some complicated stuff going on, but in the singularity model, what's important to note is there was always a universe. There was never nothing, which, the word nothing isn't even a thing. Like, there was never a nothing because nothing is impossible. It's not possible to have a true nothing.
Yeah, give
nothing
an
is a
example of
philosophical
nothing.
concept. You cannot give the moment you start saying what nothing is, you've said that it isn't. Because nothing is a lack of everything, including definitions, including logic. So you're like, oh, no. Nothing has to have logic. Nope. Then it wouldn't be nothing anymore. It'd be something. So if you have nothing, then you have nothing. You literally can't have nothing. But if there was ever a nothing, then there is also no rule that prevents anything from happening because of nothing, because a rule would be something. So if you had nothing, whatever that is, then you could then somehow have something because there's absolutely nothing to prevent anything from happening, including paradox, because there's no rule against paradox, because why not? So there you go. And then once you have something, then you no longer have nothing, and then you have stuff that would have a rule to it, and then you would have a universe. So we're back at the universe. There you go. So I don't believe that there was a nothing, because I think nothing is a logical impossibility, but I could be wrong. Maybe there was a nothing.
Caleb,
Who knows?
you're wrong. We don't think there ever was nothing, so you're just wrong.
Yeah, and again, no, I just said that in the this is the singularity. Fuck it. Big singularity. Whatever. I if I'm misspelling stuff, I don't know how to spell. Okay, just deal with it. In that model, there's always been stuff. That's everything is there. Okay, so there's always been everything is there. Okay, so there's never been nothing, and in fact, nothing can't even be. It's impossible. The end. No, nothing allowed. Okay? Got it? Is it clear enough now? Always. No. Always doesn't imply time. Okay? There's no time here either. So there is no time. So when you have no time, right, it gets weird. Because we're very used to having time, which is now, and then the next moment, and the next moment, and so on. But when you don't have time, you just are. You just is. This is basically as close as you can get to infinity, because you just are. There is no anything except for this. There's always been that, because there's never not been that. It's just always been there forever. And there is no forever, because there is no time, and that's just how that works. And it doesn't make any damn sense, but that's okay. That's how that works. I, by the way, I'm no cosmologist, so I'm probably explaining this wrong. But my idea about how universe came to be is I have no bleeping idea. I don't know. Don't know. I don't know how the universe came to be. I don't know why the universe is. So what does my answer to this question have to do with anything at all? What does me knowing or not knowing how the universe began matter at all for anything whatsoever? What does that tell you? Does it tell you anything? No. Well, it tells you I don't know the answer, but why are you asking me this question? What does it matter? I don't know. And, okay, I don't know where the universe came from, how it came to be. I don't know. Now what?
How does that get us closer to a
How does
God
that
at
get
all?
closer to anything else other than
It's
I
just
don't
an
know?
argument from ignorance.
Yeah, exactly. So that's it. But I can tell you what I understand about the singularity, which, again, my explanation of the singularity that I've done here in MS Paint might be completely wrong because I don't know that much. So, but I'm trying to do my best in explaining what I think I understand about cosmology as I say, hey, and by the way, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So don't believe a word I'm saying, be skeptical of it, and look at actual, things that would actually explain this. But I don't know. I have no idea. A God can operate without time. How do you know what God can or can't do? This is the other problem I was talking about in regards to.
Wait, an action requires time, so no.
Yeah. So okay, there's all sorts of problems with that, but whatever. So the question that I've asked many people is, how do you know what God is in the first place? What methods did you use to get to the conclusion that God has X, Y, and Z properties in the first place? And we need to examine, honestly, the methodology that you're utilizing to get to the conclusion that you get. And if you're unwilling or unable to do that, then you don't really know what God is or isn't. You just have a belief about what God is or isn't. And everyone and anyone can have a belief, but we need to be able to justify it. So here's God, he's chilling out, God. Now, there's a number of things we can talk about in this version of God. It's orange. Okay, it has eyeballs, or what looks like eyeballs. All right,
I'm
and
probably gonna have to go in a minute.
Okay. Okay, and it kind of looks like a cloud. No, that's all we can really say about this depiction of God. So, how do I know? How do you know that this is or is not God? How do you know? How would you determine that this drawing, the drawing itself, isn't actually the real God? Because I'm making the claim right now, this is God for real. That's God. And the moment I erase my drawing, God is dead. This drawing is God. And if I don't save it, God disappears from the universe immediately. So, is it God? How do you know? How do you know it isn't? What method are we going to use to figure that out? That's the question. So, if you don't have an answer to that question, then we're done. If you can't explain how we know or don't know that drawing is God or is not God, we're done. Because you've said God is X, Y, and Z, and I'm saying, well, no, this is God. I have God right here, right now, in this drawing. This is what God is. Well, this is the word. The word is that this is God. Now prove it's not God. Demonstrate it's God or isn't God. See, can't be done, right? Because you don't have a method. So you need to give me the method of how you're going to determine if this drawing right here is or is not God? What's your method?
Snippets. So setting existence of the universe aside, why do you deny the existence of God?
Yeah, this is God right here.
I mean,
Right here.
we can just ask you the same question.
Yeah, why are you denying that this is God right now? I'm saying that this is God. Hey, Blaster, you think that this drawing's God?
No.
Oh, come on.
Sure.
Just say yay! So yeah, sure, yeah.
For the sake of the argument, it looks
for
like
the sake,
God.
right, exactly. Sure, yeah, this is God. I'm saying it's God. This is God. This is the real God for real, and this is what
Prove
God
it's not.
is. Yeah, and now you need to give me some method to determine if it is or is not God. And if you don't have a method, well, then how am I unjustified in saying that this is God? Because I would assume that most people would say that's not God. That's silly. That's ridiculous to claim a picture's God that you drew in MS Paint. Come on. And now, oh, look, you've made God mad by saying that. Oh, man, you don't want God to be mad. Right, God? Yeah, see, now he's happy now. And you love me, right, God?
No,
oh, yes,
Snippets.
God.
The amount of people that believe something does not validate it in any manner.
Oh, well, yeah, 9,000 people believe that this is God, by the way. I know you didn't know that, but yeah, it's actually 9,000 people believe this is God. I can just say stuff like that, you know. Life doesn't come from non-life. How do you know that? That sounds like that sounds like something a creationist would say. That sounds like another claim that you have no support.
Is God
for.
alive?
Is God? Yeah. What is God? Is God life? Is God alive? What is it to be alive? Yeah, and according to modern science, life does indeed come from non-life. So yeah, it's a spectrum, though. It's very weird. Laughing your ass off, modern science. Okay, Caleb, you're using modern science right now to communicate.
They love to deny reality.
Yeah, like I know reality is difficult to understand, but like, how can a person try to analyze God without considering religion? Why would religion have anything to say about God? Why wouldn't God say something about itself? Why wouldn't God tell us everything we wanted to know about God right here, right now in this hangout? And so far, God has been utterly silent this whole time. It hasn't said that that's not, it didn't tell me that that's not God. It didn't tell me to stop claiming that that drawing isn't God. It didn't tell me anything. It didn't tell you anything. It hasn't spoken at all. It's like God doesn't even exist. Or religion teaches us about God. No, religion tells you what religion wants to believe. It makes up stuff about all sorts of stuff. I have a religion. It's called Lobsterist. How do you know the Lobsterist isn't true? Have you
religions are the claim, not the evidence?
Yeah, religion. Yeah, exactly. So, if you've not read the Lobsterist, of course you don't know what it is, right? You can even listen to the Lobsterist, right? But why would you? Why would you bother to look at what the Lobsterist says unless I give you some reason to do so? And without reason, well, you got nothing, man. You got a belief. You got a faith. You got a belief and stuff. And that's it. Man, I haven't put the thing in here. B.S. Lewis. Come on, B.S. Lewis. You can join in. I know you can. Did he? Did he say that? I'm sure there's other people that have said that. I am the way, the truth, and the life more than Jesus is.
Yeah, you got to double. Jesus can't double stamp a triple stamp.
Yeah, like for sure, for real. Also, like, I'm just better than Jesus. I mean, come on. I'll tell you to wash your hands. Jesus won't do that. And I have a bunny rabbit. Yeah. Jesus didn't have a bunny rabbit. I have a bunny rabbit. It's a stuffed bunny rabbit. But Jesus didn't have a stuffed bunny rabbit, so I'm better than Jesus. And unlike Jesus, I've had sex. Jesus is just an incel.
I like to think the historical Jesus had like a punch card at the brothel.
I mean, he was hanging out with Mary Magdalene all the time. I mean,
Yeah,
come
dude,
on.
he said he liked to hang out with those types of people anyway,
Yeah,
so
yeah. Me and her has sex, definitely. It's kind of weird. It's like he makes her like, "What's your name, Mary?" "Oh, that's my mom's name." Hey, let's go out. Yeah. Oh well, that kind of does
all
make
right.
sense because he did
Time
have
for me
sex
to
with.
go.
All right, later, Blaster.
I'll keep listening.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'll keep going, but I've been going for an hour. But yeah, whatever. Yeah. I mean, Jesus did have sex with his mom, so I guess it does make sense that he would be attracted to people named Mary. Elohim doesn't even mean God. The punishment, Caleb, are you gonna like prove anything that you're saying, or you're just gonna say stuff? Like anyone can just say stuff. It's like it's so interesting. I've said all these things, and you haven't interacted with anything I've said. It's like you were ignoring. Like I asked multiple times for the methodology of how to determine if this is or isn't God, and you haven't told me how to do that. You're just ignoring all that. It's very interesting, selective interaction that you're doing there. It's very interesting to me. Um, uh, yeah, I mean, whatever they say is there's 613 different laws that you no longer live by. So, what is who cares what a a book said is sin? Who cares? Is it really real? Yes or no? How do you know it's real? That's what's interesting is you're just going like, oh, I'm gonna parrot this thing, I'm gonna say this thing, and that's all I know how to do. Like, you have any original thoughts? Can you interact at all? Like, can you give me a method to determine that this is or isn't God? That shouldn't be that hard. I'm sure the skeptics and atheists can do it. Why can't the theists? That's so interesting to me. Trying to figure out the mind of Harry Ford by analyzing a car. What? Could you talk to Henry Ford at one point in time? Yeah, you could. Did Henry Ford do any magical tricks? No? Okay. Because how is Henry Ford analogous to God? Why can't you talk to God? Out loud. And again, share the link again. You can join in and explain this for yourself. No, they aren't just verbal Jewish laws, and it has everything to do with scripture. And no, I understand biblical history to some degree. There's 613 laws in the Bible given by God. They're attributed to God. So that absolutely has to do with God. People can talk to God. Well, they can't. Okay. You can talk to God, but God is not responding. That's what I'm saying. I'm responding to you, Caleb. I am saying, hey, Caleb, how's it going? Come and talk to me in the StreamYard. You're not doing it, but I'm telling you, you can. The way to determine God would be religion. Why don't I believe in religion? Which religion? There's 1,000+ religions to choose from. Which one would I go to? What would be my methodology to determine what religion to listen to? There's too many. And then how do I know which one of them is really talking about God? Or if any of them is talking about God? Why doesn't God say anything itself? It's silent. Why would that be? What are those laws of the Bible? I'll tell you what, I'll do better than that. Let's see. Hold on. Here we go. All right. Here you go. You can listen to my playlist. I read all of them. There you go. So have you done that? Have you read them all? I did. There's my playlist. I read all 613 commandments. There you go. It'll only take you 2 hours, 3 hours to listen to the whole thing. So go ahead, go do that, have fun, and come back when you're done. All right. Yeah, God responds nearly every time I talk to him. Really? Out loud? Can you record God for me? I'd like to know what God sounds like. Yeah, let's get God right now. You can tell him, Caleb, to join my stream and talk to me right now. Will he do that? No, he won't. Oh, Caleb. What will God not do? He won't tell you where B.S. Lewis lives, where I live, where social security numbers are, what my real name is, what's on my desk right now. How about that? Can God tell you what, Caleb? I've got a scar on my arm that's been there forever. Well, it's been there forever. Not been forever. Been there a while. Years now. Go ahead and tell God to fix that scar for me. Heal it up. And regrow my teeth while he's at it. And once he does that, then I'll believe in God. Now look, he didn't do it. Guess I'll have to wait. No, I'm talking about the 613 laws that are right there, Angel. All you gotta do is listen to my thing. There you go. There's the playlist again. Only take you 3 hours. Go do that. Come back when you're done. It's in the Bible. Go read it. Islam has over 100. What? It does? It has that many prophets? Wow. Yeah, they're all liars. They're not prophets. Who cares what they say? I don't know. And why would God do it that way? Why would God talk to these so-called prophets and not just to the whole world? And it's just so weird that God is so weird in how he does things. It just doesn't sound like, it sounds like people just making up shit, which is always the case with religion. So, and how do you know when someone is or isn't a prophet? Once again, sharing the stream, you can join in if you want. But nobody has. No theists have. Even BS, you must be busy. I know you joined otherwise. Or I mean, not busy, but unable to join or whatever. Nitty. Come on, Nitty. Haven't been here in a while. Christians are the true Israelites now? Okay, whatever. I don't know. Who cares? So nobody has proven God during this whole thing. And people have refused to come and chat live with me, and God itself has refused to do so. And I'm still waiting on a methodology to prove or disprove that this is God. This picture right here is God. So, go ahead and explain how you know that is or isn't God. Yeah, I'm saying it's God. That's my claim. This is God right here. There you go. That's God. Oh, Blaster, you're back? Or did he just...
I'm back.
Oh, okay.
I'm eating lunch, but I'll just mute while I'm doing
that. No, that's fine. You can... I
don't want to leave you hanging.
No, I'm almost
done. Since these guys are too chicken to join and convince us that a God exists.
Whatever. They might be... They might not have microphone or whatever. Who knows? But BS, like I said, BS, usually he'd come in, or Nitty would come in, but maybe they have other stuff going on. I don't know. I don't want to assume things.
I think that there's something important that they need to learn here, though, is like the amount of people that believe something doesn't validate it in any way.
My biggest
it's the methodology. It's the methodology that we use to get to the truth that validates it.
Yeah. Okay. So I have to respond to this. It's a multi-tiered question. Get out of here, God. You're just distracting me now. Oh I'm not going to save God. Oh, that's it. God's dead. All right. So there, in informal logic, which is the type of logic that I do, it's called informal logic. It's the whole reason why it's called that. Don't worry about it. In that system, there, and with formal logic as well, there is no biggest argument. There's only a sound argument, and that's, hey, there's Nitty. Damn it. Right while I'm explaining informal logic. Go ahead and explain informal logic, Nitty. I don't feel like doing it. Put him on the spot.
It's a system we use to form coherent arguments to make internally consistent claims.
Yay! You did it. Yeah. So within that system, there is no biggest argument. There's just valid and sound or not sound. If an argument isn't sound, you have to be skeptical of the conclusion. So there is no biggest argument against God. That's the answer to the first question. The second question is, what is the main reason I don't believe? There is not a main reason I don't believe. There are multiple reasons I don't believe. I've outlined a few during this stream. One is I don't even know what God is. I don't know how to determine what God is. It doesn't appear to me that anybody in chat knows how to determine what God is or isn't. I made a claim that that picture was God and asked for the methodology to determine whether that picture was or wasn't God. Nitty probably could figure that. I know you could answer that one. You could give a methodology for that. Blaster Master could too, I'm sure. You both could come up with methodologies for determining if it is or isn't God. And there are multiple reasons I don't believe. And if you want to know those reasons, read my book, Caught Between an Infinite Hope and a Finite Despair, available on Amazon.
I have a miracle criteria that would be in effect an ineffable experience that I wouldn't reject, but that's unique to me.
Yeah.
Either in its case, it would either be God or real big asshole aliens. So, or being, that's sufficiently powerful and willed enough to deceive me, which, fine.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I wouldn't have any choice at that point.
Yeah,
at least I don't think so.
Certainly my claim that that picture is God wouldn't fall into that criteria.
Right,
because it can't do any of those things that you demanded of it, so it would fail on that criteria if nothing else. So that is a methodology, and I have no problem with that particular, it's like, well, how do we know that God could do any of that? Well, we don't, but we're just saying, like, well, based on claims you've heard, that's the thing, is like,
it would be a combination of those claims would have to match. Well, to be a particular God, the claims about it would have to be consistent with the ineffable experience. And then I would agree that that particular God exists.
Yeah. I mean, at least it would have to talk to us, at the very least, or something,
Yeah.
Like, you got a bunch of collectibles over there, God could, like, play with those or float them around or something. That'd be, make them living or something. That'd be cool, and bring them to life.
Yeah, today prophets are a problem because they don't actually give us anything to test. Meaning, most, if not all, the prophecies I'm aware of are unspecific enough, or they lack enough specificity that they could or could not be fulfilled very easily. And in the case of their lacking specificity, you can adjust the language or how you interpret what you said to the point where you could say it was fulfilled.
Yeah, and the open question, maybe you know this, Nitty, I don't, would be how do you know who's a prophet during their life? Like, if they said 100 years from now, blank is going to happen, how do you know? You're the person recording all this stuff, right? You're like, do I write that down? And or do I not write that down? Like, maybe I don't know if they're going to be right or wrong. Okay, I better record it just in case. And then it turns out, oh, they were wrong. But if it turns out they were right, well, that's interesting. But now you and them are dead, so it's kind of And plus, the other problem is 100 years from now. Well, who's to say somebody's not going to just say, "Hey, that guy's a prophet. I want him to be a prophet. I'm just going to say that what happened happened."
I mean, it's the Simpsons effect.
Yeah,
right, where there's enough cultural inference to make a prediction, and if that prediction happens, does that make the Simpsons a prophet? Right?
Yeah,
basically predicting that Trump, creating an animation that portrayed Trump as president. Now, was Matt Groening a prophet? Like, you're going to reject that, right? Did he have divine revelation that Donald Trump would be president, especially with the way he critiques and interprets culture, right? Which is like antithetical to what a lot of Christians would appreciate, right?
Well, I mean, you have to ignore that he also predicted that Lisa Simpson would be president.
Right. Yeah.
And hinting at that a woman would be president.
Right.
And maybe a woman will be president at some point. We just got to get somebody that has charisma to run.
Well,
it's not so much Trump won, it's that somebody else lost, but enough said about politics, right?
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. I don't care about that stuff. I'm apolitical. But yeah, I mean,
I like to say with this question,
Nostradamus made a bazillion predictions.
Oh yeah.
And if you just say enough stuff, some of it's bound to be true eventually. It's like, but it's like, so what? Like, he missed a lot of things too, but the believers are like, oh, there's predictions or prophecies in the Bible that utterly failed, and people don't care about that. Then there's some that are like really vague. I forget if it was Bible or Quran now, but it was like, there's some city that was never meant to be dwelt in again. And I'm like, well, what's it
Tyre.
Yeah, is that Quran or Bible? I can't remember.
That would be, I believe it's Ezekiel.
Yeah.
Or Isaiah. I can't. Hold on.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, what does it mean to dwell there? Because I could set up a tent and live there. Well, then again, maybe not, because
it's Ezekiel 26. I was right.
Yeah. So I don't. It's like, well, where is that located? Do we know where that is? Are people living there now? Is it a controlled region by some foreign government? So could I set up a tent there and camp there overnight? Would that count? Would that be me dwelling there? I don't know. What the hell does dwelling mean? So, so.
Right. Like, and the problem with prophesying about a nation state, existing or non-existing, and saying that no one will dwell there ever again, right? I mean, do you interpret that? What time frame do you interpret that as successful?
Yeah, I mean, like,
I don't think it gave one exactly, did it?
Yeah, the falsification. Well, the false doesn't say ever. I mean,
well, you're right. Well, yeah. As soon as it's repopulated, the prophecy fails. So.
Right, but that's the thing is, like, people need to dwell there, but that's vague. It's like, to me, it would be falsified the moment anybody slept there overnight. Like that, you're done, dude. Somebody was there. They dwelt there for a night. That's it. You're done. So you have to have something that would make it false.
Yeah. And one of the things that people like to do, and this is especially true of evangelical Protestant Christianity. Well, no, you know what? This has been true since the inception of Christianity, but in our argumentation that many of us have heard, and especially former Christians, it's that all these fulfilled prophecies should lend credence to the documents known as the Gospels. Now, it makes this false assumption that the writers of the Gospels, didn't have any expectations of these Old Testament texts being fulfilled, and that they weren't allowed to frame their events as if these things were being fulfilled, and or they were simply crafting the Christ from those prophecies. We are not in their heads or have shared their life experience. The more simple explanation is that they did that thing, especially when you look at the Gospel according to Matthew, which that
I mean,
right, because he's working hard to fulfill the prophecies in the first place, right? And he's willing to
looking for things that he's like, Jesus did this, which fulfills this prophecy. I'm like, well, does it though? Like,
and as soon
and like,
sorry,
yeah. It's like, well, you're saying that he did this thing. How do I know that he really did that thing? You're just saying that happened, like,
right?
And then you're saying that, oh, by the way, it fulfills this prophecy. Well, isn't that convenient? You know, it's like,
I have to go.
You know, so yeah, so
you have to go.
Ezekiel says Egypt
will
be desolate and uninhabited for 40 years. So that also hasn't happened.
Oh! Here's a good one. Well, there's two things. Once I learned that just prior to the supposed existence of the Christ, and not long afterwards, there was the Essene community and the Qumran communities. We have this in the Dead Sea Scrolls. They were taking passages like a very famous one about John the Baptist, right? He will prepare the way for the anointed one.
Yeah.
Right? He comes from the wilderness and will prepare the way for the anointed one. Well, that community interpreted that as their righteous teacher, not the Christ. They had their own righteous teacher who they believed was fulfilling this prophecy, right? And they also chose to live outside of the city so that they could be from the wilderness. They're trying to fulfill the damn thing. Right. And you know,
well, there was a cult around this. I can't remember if it was a Japanese or Chinese guy now, but he had this old that the world's gonna end in World War III, and so then he got the people. He had a lot of money already, but he was getting donations, or he basically got everybody to give him all their money. And so he did this anthrax attack on train in order to try to start World War III. So it's like, yeah, I mean, and they failed, thankfully, but, it might have, they failed to actually, do the operation in full.
Yeah.
Although they did manage to kill a bunch of people. So it's like, well, yeah, if you're like, hey, look, I want to end the world, I'm just gonna, make it seem like these two things, that China had gone against Japan or vice versa, and that might indeed trigger a war. If I don't know a world war, but it, certainly gonna, that seems like the end of the world, and then it seems like this guy is legit. And it's like, wow.
Yeah. So the thing about the destruction of the temple in particular, right? It's not given a specific year. Okay. Like, there's an inference in some Christian communities, or some ways to work with the texts for the start of Jesus' ministry, or when you believe it ended, right? There's contention on when Jesus actually died as well. But it's the perspective of the authors. Like, even if you grant that they wrote the things before it was destroyed, right? They are aware of the culture around them and Roman oppression, right?
Yeah.
There's motivation to believe that thing will happen in an indeterminate amount of time. And in fact, Jesus says as much, right? In the way he says it is, woe unto you who are present when this happens.
Yeah, it's like,
well, when? And the disciples are like, when you see the Son of Man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some of you will see it, in your lifetime. Others won't. Whatever,
Right. It's like when evangelical pastors say, there will come a season in your life.
Yeah, none of the story matters to me anymore. I mean, it's interesting to some degree. You're more familiar with it than I at this point. I've forgotten too much. I stopped caring.
I'm good at
But
this shit.
yeah. But I'm like, well, look, God hid himself from humanity for thousands upon thousands of years, then revealed itself to a handful of people for a limited amount of time, and was like, yeah, that's good enough. I was like, dude, what about the people living next door, like literally next door? You could have been a next door neighbor of Jesus and never known what Jesus was doing your whole life because you just were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Oh, well, I guess you're going to hell because you didn't get to know Jesus. Like, yeah, that makes sense. It's so stupid. None of it makes it's illogical. It's beyond insane that God would do this in this way that looks like humans made up a story rather than just tell all of us at the same time, here's what I am, here's how I work, here's what you need to do in order to get X, Y, and Z in a logical way that none of us would mistake or misunderstand. We'd all agree. We could talk to it all the time and ask it questions, but that's not real because, well, God's not real. God is an imaginary construct made from humans by humans. And until somebody can demonstrate that it's anything else, that's what it is. Anyways, I don't know.
Well, Angel says Jewish interpretation, not actual historical interpretation. Who says?
According to you,
long-standing Christian tradition that was able to oppress and
like I believe the Jews that did the Torah then I do the Christians who rewrote the Old Testament to match what they wanted. There's pieces of the Torah that aren't in the Old Testament, so why is that? Of course, a lot of it now with the new English Revised Version of the Bible, a lot of that more has been changed.
Well, apologetics and apologists like Inspiring Philosophy Testify and what's his nuts.
God.
They beg the whole question and work from the Gospels not just being partially historic, right? I'll give you that there's accurate historical details in there. I don't care. But
like
those things in total historical.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's separating the so-called historical Jesus from the mythology would be, I think, impossible. It's like, what could you really say about him? Because even where he's born from seems contrived to me.
Right. Well, and Matthew makes up a prophecy. Yeah. He will be called a Nazarene.
Yeah, they can't even get his name right. Like,
to me, that's
name him something he's not named. So
to me, that's indicative of some documents in the Matthean community. That are Jewish. Because he might have been kind of a Judaizer. There's some documents in the Jewish community that are prophetic, supposedly, of the Messiah, and they're lost. Right?
Yes, you did rewrite the Torah. You absolutely did.
Well, there's problems with the Septuagint's work with the Hebrew, but yeah, I'd have to defer to Dr. Kip and Joshua Bowen on reading Hebrew because they can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure I could be wrong on that, but whatever. I don't. They definitely wrote the new stuff knowing what the old stuff said.
Oh, so for sure.
It's all just like, oh, Jesus he rode on 2 donkeys simultaneously in order to fulfill this thing, which the Jewish people don't see as prophecy, but we do because reasons, Okay.
Well, maybe they did, right? And to me, there's a definite.
Now you want proof?
To me, there's a definite link between the known concept of cognitive dissonance and, failed prophecy and cognitive dissonance, and the motivation of these writers which had some kind of Jewish background, right? Acknowledging that they can't really be a part of God's people if the temple no longer stands,
Yeah,
right?
there's all that too,
So what helps us maintain that relationship with God? Well, what was the temple for? A sacrifice. What are we expecting? A Messiah. Well, if the temple doesn't exist, the Messiah came, right? And he was the sacrifice to replace the temple. Not hard to follow. Or another very simple explanation is maybe that all happened, but the way it is brought to resolution is not to become part of God's people, but that a Greek hero emerged and rescues people from that destruction. Chris says Jesus opposed a lot of the Hebrew traditions. No, it's a
Okay.
mixture. It's hard to pin down. It depends on what
Yeah.
gospel and interpretations you're working with. Now, Paul effectively neuters a lot of the Hebrew and Jewish traditions while also doing weird shit in the book of Acts where he's like, well, I don't have to circumcise this guy, but all the Judaizers are really pissed off. So Timothy, drop trowel, we got to snip. Like, what's going on here?
Okay, so now you can this isn't fully reliable. ChatGPT doesn't get everything right all the time, but I'm going to rely on that because I'm lazy. Traditional version of the Hebrew Bible is used in Jewish Bibles. This is the how you pronounce that Masoretic text. Then there's the Septuagint or whatever. It differs in places, sometimes significantly. Then there's the Sumerian Pentateuch, another version of the Torah preserved, but it differs from the Jewish version in about 6,000 places. Some passages differ between versions. So the Messianic one says sons of Israel versus sons of God. Some Christian Bibles rearrange or reinterpret texts to support Christian theology. Usually not the Torah itself, but later books. Okay, fine. Redaction history, biblical scholars widely agree the Torah was composed by multiple sources, edited over time. So it hasn't been rewritten wholesale, but it's gone through edits, omissions, and variations. Okay, all right. So I was slightly wrong, but I was technically right. The best way of being right. So I'll admit, I was slightly wrong, but I was also slightly right. So there you go. That's my one mistake for the day.
I mean, a very simple way to deal with the Gospels, right? As here's a very succinct problem with the Gospels, and it's a redaction theory. It takes care of what is wrong with my cat. Are you gonna puke? That's why she does that sometimes. Is a simple redaction theory, right? Where you recognize the synoptic problem, right? Where like J. Warner Wallace and Apologist claims that, oh, these are all separate attestation. No, they aren't, right? If they shared word for word copying, then that's not independent attestation, right? So redaction hypothesis covers that, right? A redacted document is one that has portions and then further edits, right? And so Matthew and Luke are redactors and authors with a baseline of Mark. So
none of this addresses anything I was saying earlier.
So you cover the synoptic problem and then the contradictions, right? And so I win as an atheist because I have a coherent theory that's not
I don't
double-minded or whatever.
I don't care what the books say. Why is God silent right now? Why isn't God telling us right now that
you divine hiddenness monkey?
Yeah. Like, why is it so scared of us? Come on, God, stop being so shy. And then nobody gave any mythology of how to determine whether or not. Well, you did, Diddy, but I mean, nobody in chat gave a method of how to determine whether or not a drawing is or isn't God. So I say that they They are relying completely on stories written by people for people, assuming that these stories are legitimate rather than just made up stuff. And I don't care about the stories. Why is the evidence of God such that it could be seen to not exist? That's the problem I have. God, it does not speak or interact meaningfully with myself or anyone else in any way, shape, or form that can be demonstrated that anyone has ever shown as yet. And all the books in the world don't solve that problem. I don't care about your holy books. They're irrelevant. You need to prove that there's a God in the first place, and none of you have. There's been no empirical evidence offered, no tests offered, and no valid or sound arguments offered either. So I'm going to have to keep being skeptical about God, so nobody proved God to me. But there was people that talked to the Skeptic Live. There was tons of random mussing, and I did mention the Lobsterist more than once. So I've completed this hangout. I'll give the last word to Nitty because no reason. Nitty has a channel, I think. Subscribe to Nitty.
Yeah.
He needs more toys in the background.
It's
So
true. I need monetized to pay for my fun. No, tonight I'm actually going to have a conversation about how do we get change? Is change going to be motivated by anger, moderates, or some kind of pacifism, right? And we're going to be looking at some street epistemology ways of dealing with culture and beliefs and things like that, and a specific content creator and their rhetoric and solution that they offer for cultural change and how we're doing that through social media. I wish it wasn't so last minute ish, because then I would have had that creator come on. But I'm looking forward to it. It should be interesting. Yeah, it's gonna happen at 10 Eastern.
Yeah, positive change. I mean, that's been on my mind, because I heard about the whole burning thing that happened, and I'm like, these protesters don't know what they're what they're doing.
Teslas.
Yeah, or that, and there was some college or university that it got burned down lately because they supposedly had supported the university supposedly supported Boeing or whatever, or was taking money from whatever, I don't remember. And because of that, and they're supporting the Israel or Palestine, whichever one, and they didn't like that, so they burned down the university. That will show them. And I'm like, oh, please, come on, people.
Yeah,
what are you doing? It's like the people that throw the soup on the paintings. It's like, you're not doing what you're not
helping anybody.
You're not, yeah, you got attention, but it's not, where is the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., where is that person today? Like, we need that.
And that's something that I'm going to bring up is that
a coherent leader with a guided message, and then everybody does that. And maybe they mimic his system. Malcolm X made some hits too, but I want to say Junior's more lasting than Malcolm was. They both made impacts. But I mean, who's to say about who had more? But I think I like the peace system rather than the violent. I think that has a more noticeable thing. But I don't know. But yeah, I'm gonna tune in to that or listen to it later at any rate, because I'm subscribed to you. Subscribe to Nitty, everybody. Goodbye, everybody. I guess I'll leave this up for a while. I'm not going to delete it. This was a good thing. All right, bye. I'm done. Go watch Nitty. Where's your YouTube link? Where is it? Nitty. Wait, no, that's not it. Where is it? Put your link in the. Oh wait, can you put your link in the thing? No, you don't have a thing. No, you're not called Nitty. I can't find it.
It's easy. Hang on, I'll put it in the private chat.
Oh, panic!
Panic! Yeah, 10 Eastern is the plan. I'm making the thumbnail right now.
Oh, that's 2.0. 2.0. That's it.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, there it is. Go sub to that. What the hell? YouTube. Fuck. Oh, maybe I was subscribed to your first channel.
Yes,
Okay, that
happens.
all right. All right. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks
Bye.
for coming.
Thanks for having me on, D-Man.